We took part in Blackthornprod's Pass the Game challenge. Never heard of it? Well then, to explain it in short terms, Pass the Game is like a game jam, but on a completely different level. It's a game development challenge, where a developer works on a game for a set amount of time, exactly like you would in a game jam. But there's one unique twist. After the time runs out, the project must be passed on to the next developer without any communication. This means that the next developer has to figure out as much as he can about the project without any help whatsoever. By working this way, there's a huge chance that the things will become very chaotic very quickly, especially if you are one of the final developers who has to work on the project, since you have to figure out what is already implemented, what you should fix, and how you should even start fixing stuff, let alone implement something of your own. And when you take a look at the code, oh boy, it was so easy to tell that this was made in a very short duration by different people who had different goals and ideas. Anyways, our approach to the current challenge was different than before. This time, we participated as a team. We were the final developers to work on the project, and each one of us had 10 hours each to implement our changes, which was plenty of time, right? At least that's what we thought, until we started playing around with the project. It took only a few minutes to find some game-breaking bugs and other issues that we had to fix in order to make the game playable. Here's our part from the Blackthornprod video. Okay, so let's see, what do we have here? Yeah, that probably shouldn't be like this. I'm gonna need some help with this one. We've got some work to do, fellas. I'm Airidas, and together with my teammates from Moonlive Studio, Gantas and Migla have started analyzing the project to see what we could do to improve the game. We wanted to keep what previous developers made, so we mainly got some ideas to upgrade the project into a more polished state. So the first thing that I wanted to fix right away was the fighting. It was extremely glitchy because of the animations before. Then I fixed some other minor issues, such as balls flying through monsters without colliding with them. I have added a limit that allows the player to gather only 6 monsters at a time, which made the game a little bit more challenging as well. After that, I made the enemies a bit stronger by adjusting their attack range and size. Then I worked on the UI elements, moved the amulets from the inventory screen to in-game screen, adjusted the health bars, and added an ability icon that displays the cooldown of the abilities. The fights were quite boring and had no feedback at all, so I added a little bit of choice, such as visual effects on hit impact or monster death. And finally, I'm also kind of addicted to making tutorials at this point, so yeah, I added an interactive tutorial that seamlessly introduces the player to the game, which makes everything so much more easier to understand. Meanwhile, my teammates were working on the visuals.
After seeing the project environment simple and low poly, I decided to just change some key props to make game look better. While looking for the reference, I stumbled on Robot and Fighting Arena from Dragon Ball Z. I took huge inspiration from there and I started making stuff. First of all, I made a robot from gathered concepts, then made a low poly arena with the audience in the background that stares you to death. Added some low poly building with a fence and call it a day. Oh, and yeah, I took some colors from one of the reference photo and made a color palette, textured everything, and voila, sent it to Iridas.
I started with a sketch trying to figure out the style for user interface, then decided to go with a hexagon shape and made icons to represent monsters class. I also created an icon for each monster and made other UI elements to visually communicate the information to the player. After that, I changed the font and created a game logo. Then I made new battle arenas and flags that corresponds to the trainer's specialty.
During the last few hours, we took some time to combine our changes and do the other minor tweaks. We updated all of the placeholder assets such as the arenas, trainers, and user interface elements, adjusted the terrain to give the game a more stylized look, added a water shader, quickly changed up the post-processing, fixed some other minor issues such as sound effects, and finally we have created a main menu for the game. On top of all the changes that were mentioned during our segment, we added loads of other minor stuff, such as closing off the map so that the player is unable to leave the playable zone, adding a variety of sound effects, including nature ambient sounds, randomly chosen punch sound effects, and even a audience cheering sound effect when you win against the king. Then we added 4 different opponents that the player has to fight against, including a huge robot king with a crown on top of its head, managed to even squeeze in some animations for the gates, opponents and audience, and added a proper win condition as well. We accidentally took a bit more time than expected on polishing stuff that we actually forgot to add a main menu, and it actually took way longer than we planned to combine our changes, especially since all of us were working on different aspects of the game. Thankfully, and since we were the last ones to work on the project, Blackthornprod gave us some additional time to add in the main menu and check if all of our changes, such as models and UI elements, are combined properly. So yeah, in the end, we were quite happy with the result. Let us know in the comments what you think of our contribution to the project. If you have enjoyed this video, be sure to subscribe and follow us for more content that's yet to come. Oh yeah, and if you'd like to see the full video with all the other developers included, or play the game for yourself, check out the links in the description down below. Thanks for watching, and see you in the next one.